Hello, friends, and thank you for joining me on the Finding Elevation podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Thompson. I am a mountaineer. I've coached hundreds of aspiring mountain athletes to reach their goals. I also am the author of the book, Finding Elevation, Fear and Courage on the World's Most Dangerous Mountain. And I am super passionate about learning and growing through adventurous pursuits. That's why this podcast is dedicated to encouraging, uplifting, inspiring, and educating people like yourself who aspire to elevate their lives through the outdoors. So let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Finding Elevation podcast. I'm Lisa Thompson, and if you're listening to this, I want to thank you for sticking with me through what has been an unexpectedly long break. It's been almost 6 months since our last episode, and so much has happened during that time that I honestly don't even know where to start. But I think that the best place is right here, right now, with some gratitude and really excitement for what's next. So let me tell you what I've been up to. In the time since we last connected, I made one of the biggest decisions of my professional life, which was scary and daunting and took almost a year to pull together. As some of you probably know, I purchased Mountain Madness. Mountain Madness is a Seattle-based guiding company that's been guiding climbers on peaks around the world since 1984. It's really an institution in the climbing community. And honestly, when the opportunity came up, it felt like everything in my life had been preparing me for that opportunity and that moment. And the last 6 months have been just a crazy whirlwind. I've been very deep in the trenches, learning the ins and outs of running a guiding company, of building a network of people that I trust that can help me in this endeavor. I've been focused on getting to know our incredible guiding team and understanding the logistics of running expeditions on 7 continents. And most importantly, I've been thinking about how we can evolve and grow as a community while staying true to what makes Mountain Madness special. And here's what I keep coming back to. I think that it's about welcoming more people into the mountains, not just elite climbers or the people who've been dreaming about climbing Everest since they were 6 years old. I'm talking about people who feel that pull, or that curiosity, or some sense of desire to test themselves in wild places, because I remember what it was like to be that person 20 years ago, standing at the base of Mount Rainier for the first time, having no idea what I was doing, certainly unable at that point to imagine where this desire to climb a mountain would take me, and feeling a little bit out of place that first time that I attempted Rainier, but also wondering if I belonged there at all. And of course I did, and so do you. And so that's been my focus. How do we create experiences in the mountains and other wild places that are accessible, that are supportive, and ultimately are transformative? How do we build a community that lifts people up rather than intimidates them or makes them feel out of place? And how do we do all of this while respecting the mountains and respecting the communities that we visit and leaving these places better than they were when we found them? So those questions have been swirling around in my brain for the past 6 months, and I'm excited. I'm daunted, but ultimately really excited about where we're headed. Now, let's talk a little bit about this podcast, because things are going to be a little bit different going forward. When I started this podcast, it was very much my story, my climbs, my lessons, the people who had supported me, my reflections on what mountains had taught me. And I love that. And I love that I've been able to share that on multiple platforms. But as I've stepped into this new role with Mountain Madness, I've realized that there are so many stories out there that deserve to be told. Stories from people who are doing incredible things in the mountains, people who are learning and growing and pushing their boundaries in ways that can inspire, I think, all of us. So here's the new format for this podcast. It's going to be a space where mountain athletes, climbers, trekkers, adventurers can share their stories. We're going to hear about recent climbs, expeditions that didn't go exactly as planned, moments of triumph and moments of doubt and uncertainty. And most importantly, we're going to extract from those situations lessons and tips
and little pieces of wisdom that I hope will elevate our whole community. Because what I believe for sure is that every time we step into the mountains, we learn something, or we have the opportunity at least to learn something, I think, if we're paying attention. And that could be just a tactical lesson about what gear works and what gear doesn't work. It could be a mental lesson about fear or perseverance. And very often it's something deeper, something about the communities we visit and the way that interacting with them in their lives affect us, and ultimately, I think, what we owe them for adventuring in their spaces. And that last part, that like giving back to the community and understanding the community in a meaningful way, is really big for me. Because over the years, as I've climbed in Nepal and Pakistan and South America, I've been so humbled again and again by the generosity and wisdom and willingness to share knowledge from the people who call these mountains home. That includes, of course, Sherpa communities who've helped me reach these summits, local guides who've shared their knowledge and kept me safe, or, aware of weather patterns or snow patterns or whatever the case was. And also more broadly, particularly in Nepal, the families of people who've welcomed me into their homes. And those have been some of the most important experiences, I think, that I'll cherish forever. And they didn't have anything to do with the summit, but it came from being in those communities and learning from them and being humble. So we can't just take, I think, from these places. We have to also give back. And that's going to be a thread that runs through this podcast moving forward. How are we showing up? How are we contributing? How are we ensuring that our adventures leave a positive impact? So that's the vision. A podcast that celebrates mountain athletes, that shares practical wisdom and tips from those athletes, and that keeps us connected to the deeper purpose of why we do this in the first place. So before we wrap up for today, I want to share a little bit about what's coming up. Over the next few episodes, we're going to hear from some of my favorite people, athletes I've had the pleasure of working with for many years. We've got some climbers who just came back from expeditions in the Himalayas, trekkers who are going to less known ranges in the world, and guides who are on the front lines keeping people safe and helping them achieve their mountain dreams every single day. And I'm also going to be sharing updates from Mountain Madness, where we're guiding, what trips we're excited about, and the ways we're working to make mountaineering more accessible and more responsible. So if you have a story you want to share, or if there's a topic you want us to cover, please reach out. My website is lisaclimbs.com. You can also check out mountainmadness.com. This podcast ultimately is for you, and I want it to reflect what you care about and what for you is meaningful and helpful. So let's sort of bring this home. The last 6 months have been crazy, intense, and challenging. And honestly, with that also comes the belief that I'm doing some of the most fulfilling work that I've ever done. And stepping into this leadership role with Mountain Madness has reminded me why I fell in love with the mountains in the first place. It's not about the summits. Those, of course, are incredible, but it's really about the journey, about the people. It's about exploring the very edge of yourself, of what you think is possible, and discovering that you're capable of so much more than you thought. And that is what I want for all of us, whether you're planning your first 14er or your 10th 8,000 meter peak mountain, whether you're, a guide or someone who's just curious about, buying a pair of hiking boots and stepping onto the trail for the first time. I want you to know that you belong here, that this community is for you and for all of us. And so thank you for coming back after this little 6-month break, and thanks for being patient. I can't wait to share what's next. See you in the mountain.
Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If nothing else, you can say that you completed one thing today. All of the resources, products, and guest information that we share can be found in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. You can also find out more about me and what I'm up to at lisaclimbs.com and at alpineathletics.net. And if you enjoyed this show, please subscribe and share it with a friend. Cheers!